All right, everybody, we've finally done it. We've run through our session 1, and I'm going to tell you how it went. So let's dive in. All right, so through all our planning and whatnot, we finally made it to our session 1. It feels like it's been ages in preparation for this guy, and I'm really excited to show you what exactly happened in our session 1. So first things first, though, I think it's probably proper to do a character introduction. So let's go ahead and jump to Notion in our character sheet. If any of my players happen to be watching this, which is very unlikely, but watch out. Some of this is spoilery. They leveled up a little bit, so you may see this is a little bit different. I've also added max HP, which I think is helpful, as well as, I think that's actually it, updated some of the values. So here is our Bugbear Barbarian Chosen. He is pursuing destiny, so anything that looks like a plot hook, he is a sucker for. Plus that weirdo elf who saved his life keeps bossing him around. So that weirdo elf is Jimmy, one of our other player characters. The two of them have intermingled their backstory. We also found out in session 1 that Chosen was a pirate and his ship was sunk. And he seems to be the only survivor. Kind of fun stuff. He is a little bit slower and he's slow with his words and whatnot, but he is very passionate about the things he cares about. So let's go ahead and open Dimitri up. So Dimitri here is our gnome fighter, lives life with all his energy, and makes enemies fast, but friends even faster. So this is definitely true so far of the roleplay we've seen of Dimitri. We don't know a ton about the backstory yet, and that's okay. My player in real life is super busy with finals and whatnot, so she'll probably develop this character as we continue to play. But super fun and exciting so far, likes to punch things. Next is Iris, and this is played by my wife. She's a halfling warlock. A little bit of backstory for her. She's had some recurring dreams of the area, though she's never been before. She actually had a dream of Elder Ushru, who is head of the Norgab Horde. We've kind of changed this up a little bit. She is Luxon-born, who was born to an anti-Luxon family. The brainwasher started to treat her condition with abusive tactics, resulting in her suppressing her memories from her previous life. Has ties to the ocean, which is what draws her to it. Her Luxon-born soul attempts to resurface. So this is an all-final. I know she's working on some things as well, but for now, I think what I have decided on, at least, is her patron is Elixion, who's doing his best to impersonate Sihanine the Moonweaver, and we'll kind of see how that goes. I don't want, main character syndrome going on, so we'll see how that kind of plays out. We may just do, the Elixion Aboleth that you run into in chapter, I think it's 5 of the book. So we'll see. So for right now, that's kind of what the patron is doing. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not 100% with that. Next is Jimmy. So Jimmy is a sea elf druid. He strives in all things to be true and nature runner. He seeks out any and all opportunities to fulfill that, and this area is just the newest area in his lifelong journey. So again, this is Jimmy and Chosen. They're good friends in the party. Jimmy is kind of a Boy Scout of sorts. He handed out some merit badges from the nature in our session 1 when he first met the party. He gave them some leaves and just things that he had crafted from random odds and ends he found in the forest or in the woods. And lastly is Nell. So this art was actually done by the player themselves. Super cool. Nell is an orphan. She grew up on the streets near the port. She's been taken in by a gang. She's small, pretty, and loves to dance, so the gang uses her as a distraction to pickpocket and hurt people. She's always been incredibly empathetic, so the idea of hurting others makes her feel sick inside. She hates that she has to help the gang do this, but isn't sure what to do about it because the group leaders can get violent towards anyone who doesn't listen, and she doesn't know where else to turn. She really wants to play a character who learns the strength of a tender heart. So this is the most in-depth backstory that I've received so far. And the others I think will develop as we play, but super interesting character. We'll see how this one plays out. I'm excited to see it. She kind of hides herself so far when she's out in public, and I think that's to keep, the various eyes of the city off of her, and she can kind of meander about the city, no problem. And then the other is when she's in person, when she's in a more intimate setting, she'll take her hood off and you can see her face and whatnot. So she actually was originally going to be a bard, but decided that she's going to go rogue first and then multi-class later into a bard. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, so there are our characters. Here they are in all their glory. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into Notion, our session 1 notes page. At the very bottom of this page, I wrote down some notes right after we had our sessions, just so we don't forget little odds and ends that are kind of important or you can call back to later. That helps immerse your players more into the story. So let's talk about what happened. Once we started getting into the actual meat and bones of the session, I had them roll initiative right to begin with. And this was to determine the order in which they would show up at the Unbroken Tusk Inn. And I feel like it was kind of fun. I think we had mixed reception to that. As like, I think some people were nervous to jump right in and do battle, but it wasn't for battle. It was just so to see the order in which they arrived at the inn. So I had Paquena already sitting down in the inn. The inn was crowded. There were people all over the place. We had Agatha Silverspoon, who is the owner of the Unbroken Tusk Inn. She was out filling orders, serving drinks and whatnot. Had a little intro description, which I wrote up here. I can't remember if this is included or not, but we read through this. One thing I also want to mention is I had a comment asking for a link to the Notion page. So I've made this public and will be in the description below if you want to take a look, and this will be updated and you should be able to just view it as I update. So I had this little section where I read this out, and then we just had one person after the other enter the inn, which was kind of fun. So the first one in was Nell, who is our rogue bard. Immediately, I wanted to set the tone that I like roleplay. So immediately she walked in, Paquena waves, and we had a quick conversation between Nell and I that set the expectations. It was like, I want some roleplay in this. Hopefully you guys are okay. And all of the players handled it like champs. So we had a couple of people different come in. We get a brief conversation, do introductions. Paquena to introduce the players. Because Paquena had recruited everybody, it worked out really well. They all came in that evening, and she was able to do introductions to the party and kind of meld the party into one. I mean, there's obviously a lot of growth and strength that needs to be put together, but we've got the starts at least. She also offered to pay for the meals, which a lot of the player characters I found interesting were super grateful. Nell especially was like, are you kidding me? I can order whatever I want? Yeah, absolutely. So I put up a little menu together. They had Jigow is known for fishing, so they had like a shark thing. There was just like eel, a couple different things, and the players ordered. And then they also asked Agatha, because they could smell the pastries and whatnot, if they could have one of those. So we ordered a whole round of pies for the entire table. It was pretty fun. Got some role playing in. The characters kind of got to know themselves. First of all, the players got to know the characters, and then they got to know some of the party as well. So it worked out really well, I thought. I actually ended up ignoring the bar fight, which is the big tie-in for the Great Grung Grab. So I completely ignored it. I felt like it didn't fit at the time. It kind of adds to like the competitive spirit of Jigow, but I was able to include that in other areas. So instead of like a fight or something like that, some of the NPCs were just mentioning, like butting heads, as well as when they met the elders later on. There's emphasizing the competitive spirit of Jigow, which is the reason that I included it in the first place. While we were role-playing at the table, Chosen mentioned that he really likes teeth. He was disappointed that when his shark arrived, it didn't have teeth in it. So Agatha overheard that, and on his way out the door, Agatha handed him a pouch full of shark teeth and said, anytime you need shark teeth, like I've got plenty, we pull them out before we serve them. So that was kind of fun. We talked about already, Dimitri was just super full of energy, gusto, and ready to just get going. Jimmy, and when he entered, he gave everybody their little badge. We talked about that as well. Nell kind of kept herself hidden, was more subdued and quiet, which was good. And the same was true of Iris. I think my wife is still trying to figure out exactly how she wants to play her character. So pretty quiet, but everyone participated, which was good. While we were at the table, Paquena said, hey, I'm just going to be straightforward with you. The reason I brought you here is because every year in the festival, there's a competition between the Gactus clan and the Norgab Horde. And I am putting together a team this year. And if my team does well, I am up for a promotion inside the Horde. And that's why I've got you all together. I think each of you bring pieces of the puzzle that will fit together and we can win this thing. But before we do that, I'd like, to make sure that you guys can work cohesively as a team and just see that you're up to the task. So she said she let the party know that she has a friend named Sharpwatch, who is an Aarakocra, who is in charge of the maze every year. They've had some problems they need help with. So I told them I should have some people hopefully later today that can come by and help them out. So she told the party about this, told them where the maze was, how to find them, and off they went on their way. She also mentioned that Sharpwatch said something about offering a gold reward. So they went off. After that, thanked her for her meal. Everything went really well. Lots of fun. And then they went down towards the maze, which is towards the entrance of the festival, according to the Call of the Netherdeep book. And starting to get later in the evening, so the streets weren't as crowded. They head down to the maze. They see up on the right-hand side of the maze, up about 30 feet up into the air, is the Aarakocra Sharpwatch, who's just kind of sitting there, and he's like, what are you guys doing? He comes floating down, asks them what they're doing. They say that Paquena sent them, whatever. So they have a little role play. He says, oh, great, perfect. I'm so glad you're here to help me. Some kids snuck in earlier, and I think they left some food or something. But anyway, we have a rat infestation in there. I need you to go in, take care of it, and I'm offering you 1 gold piece per rat that you can bring the body out so that it doesn't just like stink in there in the next couple days when we have the festival. Some of the members of the party were like super enthused, like 1 gold piece, are you kidding me? That's awesome. So that was really fun to see them role play that. Then they go into the maze, in the maze. The walls are only about 4 feet tall, and the description in the book says that they're like posts, and then they've got rope in between the 2 posts. I've changed that so that there's just like fence pickets kind of, where you can't see through them to make your way through the maze, so that they couldn't just like see the rats. They made some checks, looked around, and finally found the rats. I think it was Chosen who's the one who found the rats, while the others were like dinking around and failing their checks. He stood up and was able to see the rats and pointed everything out. And then we rolled initiative. I had them find 4 at first, so they were fighting 4, and they handled them pretty well. So we added 2 more into the fray. They handled those pretty well as well, and we're able to bring back to Sharpwatch 6 rat corpses. Pretty fun stuff. It was interesting to see them like climb on top of the fence and fall over. A couple of them fell over because they failed their checks to get over the fence. It was a lot of fun. After that, Jimmy, being the Boy Scout, didn't want anything to go to waste. So he harvests the body of the rats and gets a few rations. And then he takes some of the skulls and makes some trophies for those who actually did the final blow on a few of the rats. That was kind of fun. And Dimitri happened to get one of those and split their skull in 2 and gave one half to Chosen, which was kind of fun. After all of that happened, they went back to the bar and met Paquena, told them to come back in the morning, right? They didn't know what else to do next, so let's just go back. They go back to Paquena. She tells them, just meet me here in the morning. They all go back to the various places they've been sleeping, right? They've all been in the city. They don't need to sleep together. So, for example, Nell went back to her gang hideout. No one knew that. Actually, Iris and Chosen and Jimmy all went out into the forest. They've been sleeping out on the outskirts of town. They all went there, found a place to sleep. I have them level up to level 2 as they wake up in the morning, refreshed and reinvigorated, finding new purpose in life. They've got to level 2. So Jimmy picked his druid circle, and I think Iris picked her warlock subclass. At that point, the others, it's just a couple new abilities. Nothing much to worry about. Level 3 is kind of a bigger one for some of the other classes. Next morning, they all head to the Unbroken Tusk Inn. They are the first ones there, and in walks the whole party, and Paquena can't be found. They're kind of a little bit worried at this point why she's not there. They ask Agath if she's seen her. They're pretty worried that Paquena's not going to show up. Anyway, they find themselves down. Agath gets them breakfast. In walks the muscly orc that is Paquena. She apologizes for being late. She had to go meet with the elders. The elders wanted to meet the party, essentially, is what she tells them. She was meeting with them to say, hey, here's my party. I want to produce as a team. Every team has to be approved by the elders. It gave them a reason to go meet the elders because I had left the fight out where they had helped Agath. So I needed a reason for them to go visit the elders. So I just added in the fact that the elders need to approve it. No one questioned it. They all then head over across the street to, I called it the Temple of the Lux, and that's a whoopsie on my part, but it's actually the Kryn Dynasty Outpost. We'll fix that at the start of the next session, just let them know. But they head over, we describe the barracks on the right, and then the building itself, that is the dodecahedron, and there are 2 drow guards waiting. They're not very pleasant. They ask the party essentially, what the heck are you doing here? The party presents them a note that Paquena had given them, just stating that they're here to meet with the elders. And one of them reads it, very formal, very unfriendly, says, all right, follow me, leads them into the waiting room, and this is all from the Great Grung Grab, leads them into the waiting room, where there is just a hallway. There are benches on either side. There's some tapestries of Kryn Dynasty victories and war. And anyway, so they wait there for 15-20 minutes. The party finds a way to entertain themselves. Nell pulls out a drum. Chosen falls asleep at Jimmy's feet. Jimmy starts fiddling with things that he has in his pocket to make odds and ends to give as gifts. Iris was just checking out the tapestries, and then Dimitri wanted to see if there's anything behind the tapestry. So we kind of roleplay that for a little bit. They had a little bit of fun there. And then after about 20 minutes or so, I had a drow open the door, and out steps the rival party. Now, this was a brief interaction with the rival party. I just described the rivals, and I had them walk past the party. And as they walked past, I just had Io kind of smirk and look down her nose at our party. And that was it. They walked out the door. Just an introduction to the rivals. So hopefully later on they can pick up that breadcrumb I left and, oh, we've seen these guys before. That's my hope. So then our party walks in. They're escorted by the drow, who describe in front of them, just as it's written in the little PDF. They're the 3 elders. Dirth Mirim, who is the drow head of the Auroran Watch in Jigow, kind of takes charge and is kind of a jerk, very cold to them. Jimmy tries to present him with a little spider that he has crafted out of the little things while he's in the waiting room, and Dirth won't even touch it. He just has his assistant drow come and grab it and put it on an end table. This is gee, thanks. So the elders kind of described Zarr. They describe what happened with her and her fishing party, and then they also mentioned that, we have to vet you as a team before you can enter the festival. So the team was like, yeah, what happens if we win? Darth Miran points to the headdress and says the winning faction gets to wear this. And they're like, well, I don't care if we win then. Like, what's the big deal? You get to wear that if we win. And then they also mentioned there's a gold prize. You get a token of favor from the elders and that kind of thing. So hopefully we can get them a little bit more invested in just like, well, that doesn't make sense. Or that's not worth it. I think the gold will do it for sure. My party seems to be very motivated by that, which is good. Makes it easy on my end. After all that was done, they described where to go find Zarr, so the party left. They were escorted from the building out back to the gates, and then were able to make their way out to the Meatwaters, which is where Zarr is. So as they went and met with Zarr, they found her house, asking around a little bit, were able to find out exactly where she lived, and she kind of was in this little makeshift hut thing that used to be like a fishing supplies area. People would keep their fishing supplies. Knock on the door, no answer at first, and then they see through the window, a makeshift window, a curtain, they see Zarr peeking through, and she asks them what's going on. Very, very nervous. They try and calm her down a little bit and say that the elders have sent them, and she lets them in. The place is a disaster. It's a wreck. She's a wreck. Nell actually was trying to be very comforting. So is Dimitri, trying to comfort her, put her hand, like just trying to be as comforting as possible and try and let them know, try and let Zarr know that they're here to help. Anyway, the conversation goes well. She tells them what she knows. Just, they're looking for a honey hole. They're trying to find the best fish. They went out, got ambushed. All she can really remember is getting hit in the arm, falling down, and vaguely remembers seeing some frog-like creatures take her friends. Once that's all done, she describes all that. They ask her, well, do we know how to get there? It was interesting that we get all the way there. They're almost ready to leave, and eventually, oh, wait, how do we get there? And so then Zarr had to draw them the map. So I thought that was kind of fun. So from there, they did a little bit of shopping. Iris bought a parasol because she knew that it was going to rain as one of her features within the 24 hours. I think she can know the weather. She just asked if it was going to rain. I said, yeah, at the tail end of 24 hours, it'll be raining. So she grabbed a parasol. Chosen bought some fishing supplies. He's like, let's make some money off of this. If we're going to the best fishing spot around, let's bring some fishing poles. Maybe we can get lucky. They headed to the swamp. The trek there was pretty uneventful. Described people coming in the direction of Jigow, heading from other places to Jigow. So there were people getting ready for the festival, like caravans, families, all kinds of things, just heading this direction. Again, they role-played really well here. Things they were doing on the trek to keep themselves entertained. Then we get to the point where they need to make a perception check. No problem. Got it. I actually rolled a natural 20. I think it was Nell was the one that rolled the natural 20 on the perception check to see the Goblin's Nose rock formation. From there, Jimmy was the one to lead the party due east and hopefully not get lost. He did really well on a survival check, so no problems. They didn't get lost. They approached the swamp as the sun is starting to set. Once they get inside the swamp, I have them make another check, another survival check just to make sure they don't get lost in the swamp. Things went well there. They find the fishing party's like supplies. They see fishing poles. They see bedrolls, all those sorts of things in the swamp itself, just kind of floating in the muck. And they actually failed their investigation check here, so they didn't end up with any grung poison darts. But the Chosen spent some time looking around to find footprints, found the grung footprints headed north. They also saw that it wasn't just one set of grung. They could see that there were grung, and there were also humanoids, and they were walking in the direction of north. So after they find the tracks, they start heading north and following the tracks. It's getting pretty dark at this point. Chosen is keeping an eye out for traps and spots a trap that I had placed in there. And this is because they were moving along quicker than I had thought and anticipated. And we were getting close-ish to the end of the session. So I added a trap in there. They spotted it. They were able to Jimmy disarmed the trap like a pro Boy Scout that he is. And then later on in the trail, I actually set up a grung ambush. So they saw two sets of eyes in the dark, fought a little bit, and two more showed up behind them, and they took out care of three, and one of them jumped up into the trees. The whole area was like mangrove trees surrounding this little tunnel that they were following through. One of the grung jumped up into the trees and disappeared, and he's going to go tell the city that there are people headed this way, so there's no surprise. They're ready and geared up for when the party makes it there, and that's where we ended. After I have a session, I like to sit down and figure out what went well, what could be better, and then I'd like to think about things that I can implement from this session in the future. So let's start with what went well. I'm really excited about the players that we have in our group. They really did a great job role-playing. They jumped right in. Some of them are even newer. Jumped right in, role-played really well, had a lot of fun. There were questions and things about, learning certain abilities and whatnot. But overall, I'm really excited to see where this goes. I think one thing that worked well is having Paquena recruit each of the members and into the party and meet her at the Unbroken Tusk Inn. I think that worked better than I was anticipating. It's a good tie-in for the entire party and gives them a reason to be together. I thought that worked well. The introductions and then letting them talk and her talk and role play a little bit, I think set the tone really well for the game that I'd like to run. And they jumped right in. It was really awesome to see so much role play and fun back and forth. All right, so what can be better? I may need more reason for the party to be considered for the team. This is something I kind of was thinking about afterwards. It's just like you just go do one thing, come back, and yeah, you're good to represent the entire horde. I may end up adding in some more tasks when they get back from Elder Ushru. I kind of want them to tie in, at least to the next one, actually. I need them to like Elder Ushru more so that they're more willing to help him win. Right now, they've only met him the one time, and they weren't super cool with winning just for the leader. So I need to find a way for them to have some sort of tie-in connection to Elder Ushru. So having him give them a specified task, something that's a little bit more personal, I think before we hit level 3 and before they are awarded the honor of being the Norgab Horde's team in the festival. So that's something I need to think about between now and the next session, and we'll probably talk about that in our session 2 prep video. One other thing I think I need to do is prep one more encounter than I did. We almost ran out. Like, I could have rung the Grung village, no problem, but I wasn't as prepared for it as I was some of the other encounters. So I think preparing one step further than I think, and then we can, if we get there, great, I'm ready for it. And if not, that's totally fine. We can just roll it into the next session. The last thing I think I can improve on is tech issues. So we did okay. I just would have liked to have some easier transitions between screens. I have built a portable D&D table. It has a TV screen in it, and I just used that as the only screen. I brought my computer, hooked it all in, and there was a little bit of tech issues in transitioning between some maps and different things like that. So I think next time I'm just going to bring another screen to hook up to my computer, and then we can do one screen that's me, I can see what's going on, and then we can just move it over to the TV screen. I think that'll work a little bit better. One nice thing about having the TV screen, though, is there's music built in. I don't have to bring a speaker or anything. This is something I think is important to do after the end of each session so that you're always improving as a DM. We'll take these notes, and we'll move forward and get better. Next is ideas for the future, and this is things that just struck me as we were playing. I need to add an event for Nell to dance or compete in the festival. She is going to be a dancing type bard, so she's really excited to be in the festival itself, which is how Paquena got her into the group in the first place. So I need the tail end of that to be a thing that can happen. I feel like adding an interaction between Nell and her gang at some point that they're in the city of Jigow itself. And maybe that's during the festival, maybe it's before we enter the festival. I'm not sure exactly where that's going to be. I need to think about that a little bit. I also need to give Iris an interaction with her warlock patron. We kind of need to narrow that down a little bit and make sure we're on the right path before that happens. Chosen, I think I want, when they hit Ankarel, for him to meet a survivor of his shipwreck. I'm not sure who yet or what, but we can figure that out as we get closer. And then lastly, Jimmy and Dimitri, I'm not 100% sure what I want to do with them yet, but that's okay. We don't need to have something from every single character every session. Just, I need to be thinking about them going forward so that those players feel involved and feel like they're part of the story as well. Well, that's it, guys. That's session 1. It was awesome. So much fun. I really like this module. I'm really excited to see what happens once we hit the book itself. We've got some great things ahead, for sure. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.